Pulling off a successful resume really comes down to three main components: positioning, some formatting, and risk mitigation. In today's session, I want to really focus on the positioning piece, which starts by really understanding the person who's reading your resume. If you want to advance in your career, have more job opportunities, and increase your impact in the world, you've got to know who is reading your resume and what they want. It will radically change what you write about and how you talk about your experience in your resume, in interviews, the whole process. So the problem most people face with their resume and why they get so frustrated when no one wants to talk to them, when no one responds to their resume, is that they don't really spend very much time thinking about who they are writing for. Most people, resume writers included, spend most of their time thinking about themselves and what they want their brand to stand for, what image they want to project out to the world. And I'm not saying that's irrelevant, but starting there I think is a bad place to start, because this is more important. I remember some of my early resumes, I made the same mistake. I thought I knew what employers wanted, and when no one wanted to talk to me, I ended up phoning up somebody that I knew who was doing the job that I wanted to do next. And basically he said to me, "Well, this is all great stuff, Cole, but who cares?" And I was just stunned, right? I thought, he's got to be wrong. But I played along, and he set me up with some other folks to do what most people would call informational interviews with some other managers and some peers in the field. And what I found out was he was absolutely right. What I thought was important, they didn't care about. I didn't know my reader. Also, I was treating my resume kind of like a brag sheet, and I thought in order to build my authority, I needed to position myself as this hero in the field that I was in. I'm the guy who understands sales, operations, leadership, etc., etc. But here's what I quickly discovered. Your resume's not a place to celebrate yourself. It's about positioning yourself as the solution to the reader's problems, a very specific, defined set of problems. And that leads me to demographics and psychographics, and I often see this play out in early and mid-career professionals that I talk to, like director level and down the chain, where they don't often understand how they connect to the bigger picture and focus way too much on tasks or irrelevant items in their resume and their talking points. And they often rely on duties in a job description to determine their resume content. And the problem with this method is that if you don't understand how it all fits together, that job description is just about worthless to you because it's not going to explain it for you. When people focus on job duties and job descriptions, it reminds me of marketers who focus on demographics way too heavily. What type of work, what industry. The problem with demographics is that it's just a piece of statistical information about somebody or something. I prefer to focus on psychographics. What really motivates the person reading this resume? What will get them to stop dead in their tracks and trigger their brain to say, whoa, this is important to my survival. Let me pay a little bit more attention. Let me stop glazing over all of these documents because it's something I have to do. You could think of this as playing to their aspirations, frustrations, or challenges. If you can get at what the reader wants, what's keeping them from what they want, and position yourself there, you've hit gold with your resume. So how do we get this information? Lots of people think they know what the reader wants and trust their intuition. Now, I believe strongly in intuition, especially if you've been in the same field for some time. Part of my journey has been leaning into my intuition, but I always insist that it gets validated. Many times I'm right, but sometimes I'm not, and that could be a $130,000 mistake on your resume or in an interview, right? So I think I know who my reader is. Great. Write that down, go test it. Talk to people that hire for the role that you're after next, or test it in the marketplace with a small sample size and see if anyone responds to your resume. If you send it to 20 employers and only 2 of them express interest, you're probably off, and you should reevaluate what you thought. And one of the great things about talking to a large group of people in the job that you want, or that manage people in the job that you want, is that you can then use that exact language to repeat back to them a message. And that really plays out really well when you're writing a resume. In fact, it's a big part of why I've been so successful with the 3,000 plus resumes that I've written for other people, is because I've talked to so many people in these fields, and I'm just collecting all of that information from these executives and managers and directors, and I'm parroting back that information in a very focused, relevant way. If you can write your resume in the reader's own language, they will pay attention. Now, back to, does my brand matter in a resume, which I kind of discarded earlier. I want to come back to that. One question I often get asked is, okay, Cole, here are all the psychographics for my reader that we've been talking about. But at what point do you just say, okay, well, I'm going to be myself here, and where's the line between being authentic and catering to the person reading my resume? And for me, that answer is really easy because I really believe in the principle of scratching your own itch. So for me, all the problems I'm trying to help other people with are problems that I've solved in my own life, I've solved for past employers, and I find that works best because I understand it from the inside out. And sometimes I've even failed in that particular problem before, and that actually gives me more credibility because I know what works and what doesn't. I understand how it fits together. So sometimes our failures actually end up helping us when we're putting together this resume. So I pretty much stick to companies similar to the ones I've been in, or companies who are in a similar position to where I was when I was coming up through the ranks. I try to make as many of those connections as possible because those are the areas I understand the best anyways. Now, that doesn't mean that it's always the same industry. I used to be a recruiter. Today I'm a resume writer and career coach, the other side of the coin. I've worked with people who are in accounts receivable and then pivot to accounts payable. An even better example, I had one client about a year ago who went to work in the receivables department at a vendor of the company he was the payables manager for. That was a terrific move because he understood their position very well. He understood all of those dynamics because he was on the other side. He knew their challenges because he was on the opposite side of it for years. And I think one of the failures of my parents' generation, sorry mom and dad, is that they taught us to chase our passions, but it's not just about what you want to do, it's also about what you're really good at. And when you realize that, things really start to click into place. So focus on those psychographics for the reader and solve the problems that you're really good at solving anyways, and get rid of everything else in your talking points for your resume or your interview because they're simply not relevant. When you're ready, there's 3 ways I can help you with all of this, if not a little bit more. We can build a better resume together through my group coaching and online course. You get on-demand videos and weekly sessions with me, or quickest way, if you just want to unload the whole thing, be done with it because you got enough on your hands already if you're in a job search, you can hire me to write your resume and jump into one of my resume writing packages and work with me one-on-one. Or if you just need a little TLC, sign up for a one-on-one private session, 45 minutes. Let's chat. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's get your job search back on track. And don't forget to subscribe for more free resume and job search advice that comes out every Saturday in the video newsletter. I'll see you next time.